right, here we go. Again, thank you for tuning in today to Pre-Algebra this Thursday, November 7th, year of our Lord 2019. Now we're going to start using the lowest common denominator to compare fractions. Not quite yet adding and subtracting fractions, but to compare fractions. Finish this sentence. Ready? If you remember from 5th grade. You can't really compare fractions till you give them the same denominator. Yeah, you're right. It's the same name, and the name is the denominator. So I went back to elementary with you, and those are pretty good circles I drew there.
Oh, yeah.
That's
You
like
probably used something.
That's like my best artwork yet.
You used a copy.
All right.
I think he put the cap on there.
What's the fraction here? Raise your hand.
1/4.
Raise your hand. Be recognized. Lauren.
1/4.
Look how all the hands go up when it's nice and easy. Everybody's always afraid when it's a little harder. Noah.
37.
What? Let's try that again. He just needs his glasses.
3.
Lauren.
2/6.
Oh, that one has a law. Yes.
Oh.
Jaden.
1 6 or 2 12. 1 6. Why do you 6?
Okay.
What's that?
You only have 15 seconds. Go. You got to put those in order. Least to greatest. Go. Yes.
1 2 3
Least to greatest.
4 5 6 7 8 9 10. You failed. 12.
Just okay. Stop counting.
14.
Stop counting.
16.
Shut up.
Hey, that was me.
This least to
I'm
greatest.
sorry.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah,
we'll go in trouble.
Yeah, we'll go.
No, we'll go in trouble. No, you're going to get in trouble.
Okay, give her a hand. Great. Some of you are hesitantly giving her a hand. Don't you know you're living in the world of participation trophies? You're supposed to give her a nice hearty hand, like.
No.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if she did it right or not. Everybody congratulate her. She got them all right. All right. So she was under pressure. Okay. I think if I gave her time, she had it on her paper in front of her, she would have probably done better. But the point to this was, when you look at those fractions, and even though I have the pictures up there, and you have to put them in order least to greatest, it's kind of hard, especially when you're under the gun, because they don't all have the same name. It'd be easier to compare them and put them in order from least to greatest. She would have done fabulously, you admit, if they all had the same denominator, and then she would just have to go by the numerator, because they would all have the same name. They don't have the same denominator. So why did we do all that work this week on least common multiple? Because it's going to help us find the least common denominator, and then we'd be able to compare fractions, much more complicated than these, because even Mr. Franklin can draw those. But no matter what the fractions are, we can compare them and say which one's larger if we give them the same name. So now let's give them the same name. What would the least common multiple be for 4, 8, 6, and 12? We had someone just throwing out a number 20. That was a total guess, and it's not right. So what would the least common multiple be? One way to do it would be to break down each one into its prime factors and to use each factor to its highest power. 2 squared. You agree that 4 is 2 squared? Prime factors? You agree that 8 is 2 cubed? Prime factors. You agree that 6 is 2 times 3?
Yeah.
You agree that 12 is 2 squared times 3. Let's stop there. I've done, without writing the tree, I've done the prime factors of all four denominators. Raise your hand if you don't get what I just did. Everybody's saying they got it. Okay, so I've taken all these denominators and put them in their prime factors. So what would be my strategy to figure out the least common multiple? I've got 2s and 3s. I have to use all those factors, right? Well, there's only 2 of them, 2s and 3s. Which 2 am I going to use? 2 cubed. What's 3 am I going to use?
3.
It's just 3. What's 2 cubed times 3? 24. Because that would be 8 times 3, 24. Now go back to your arithmetic and your mental math. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Do all of these go into 24?
Yes.
Okay. But your strategy, what you've learned all week and what you have to put into use, and you got to remember this, is you prime factorize them and then use the highest power, 2 cubed times 3. So 24 is going to be the least common denominator. So what would 1/4 be 24ths? 6. What would 3/8 be? Noah?
Is it, 18?
What did you have to multiply 8 by to get to 24? Noah?
Oh, 3.
So what's 3 times 3?
9. I was thinking something.
What's this, 24ths? Mitchell? 8. And 24ths. Mitchell?
4.
Okay. Lauren, come on back up. All right, Lauren, you got 15 seconds to put those fractions in numerical order.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
You're counting too
9,
fast.
10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17,
4.
You failed. 21.
Wow. Now give her a hand. Because it's not just a participation trophy. She actually got them right. And look how easy it was once you gave them all the same denominator or the same name. Everybody got it? Okay.
Yeah.
Page 19. Oh, I need your, pass those review quizzes,
Oh, yeah.
Sal.
I got one.
and they'll all be filtered to Brett and Kara. All filtered to Brett and Kara in honor of, if you didn't know, this week, I think it was Monday, was National Redhead Day, so.
I'm
all those
red.
papers-
No, Carson.
On the inside.
What?
I have red hair. On the
First thought.
Yeah.
Maybe it's your, villi,
What?
your small intestine, little hair-like structures that absorb the food, the nutrients in your bloodstream. Maybe they're red, I don't know.
I could be orange. Or I could be yellow.
I want to be orange.
He's really confusing.
Are you trying to make
I
fun
could
of
be
my
blue.
president?
Or I could be purple.
You know people call him like Cheetah or Cheeto or something like that.
Who?
Our president. Yeah.
Charles?
Cheetah goes up red.
Yeah, he does.
Oh my goodness.
All right, here we go, page 192, 193. They kind of do what we just did. You'd be able to compare fractions if you gave them the same name. So example 1, I'm not going to go point by point through the examples, but if you're on 192 there, Mr. Fidel, example 1, they're comparing 3/8 to 5/12. Well, I don't know. Right off the bat, I wouldn't know. But I give them the same name, 24ths, and I see that it's 9 24ths compared to 10 24ths, because those were really close, right? And that's why when I first looked at it, I'm like, man, I don't know which one's bigger. And I've been doing this a long time. And it was really close. It was 9 24ths versus 10 24ths. So 5 12ths is just slightly bigger. Go down to number 1 through 4, page 192. Let's see how you do. You're doing 1 through 4, 192. You got, I think it's fair, 2 minutes to do those 4. 30 seconds each. Let's roll. Come on, David. You got to decide which one's greater than, equal to, or less than. Is 2/3 greater than, equal to, or less than 5/8? Don't guess. Give them the same name. You need paper? Yes. No, you do it on paper and sit properly in your desk, please. 1 through 4, bottom of 192. Yes. No. Who knows? This might be in my desk because it's broken. Probably. There you go.
Can I have one?
Oh, don't break it, don't break
Don't
it.
break that. Zacchaeus, sit still. Don't move.
That was very wise.
Zacchaeus. Honestly.
I knew I wasn't gonna catch it.
No, you didn't.
I caught
No, I said I knew I
Let's
wasn't.
go.
gonna catch
You
it.
should be almost done.
it.
1 through 4.
It's greater than. I didn't realize.
Just like a yes or no.
Like that beat. It reminds me of Thomas.
I could be in the background while he's doing his harmony.
And then I can be breakdancing.
George promised.
Yeah.
I think I might be right.
David, I'm not going to accept your guesses. When you tell me what your answers are, you're going to have to tell me, you have to give them the same name. You're going to have to say 2/3 is blank compared to 5/8 because is greater than or less than with the same denominator. Hopefully you are approaching the end because we got to get moving. Train is rolling.
Mr. Franklin, in our game against United, it turns out I got one pass for negative 15 yards. For negative 5.
You sure it wasn't a backwards pass?
It was a screen, then it just went backwards.
All right, here we go. Even if you're not done, don't worry about it. Hopefully you got at least 2 of them done. 2/3 compared to 5/8. Somebody raised their hand and you're going to, let's say, here's your example. Let's say I was comparing 1/2 to 3/4. I'd have to give my answer like this. 2/4 is less than 3/4. So when you raise your hand, you have to tell me greater than or less than, and you have to give them the same name. Number 1, Jade.
16 24 is greater than 15 24.
Everybody get that? She said 2/3 is greater than 5/8 because 16 24ths is greater than 15 24ths. See, at first glance, that's a hard one. What's greater, 2/3 or 5/8? Well, it becomes a lot easier, Sydney, when you give them the same denominator, right? Now you're just comparing the numerator, 16 to 15. Number 2, give the answer as Miss Scheller did. Yes, sir. Noah.
1/2 is less than 2/3.
Close. You got the less than right. Kira.
10 20ths is less than 15 20ths.
10 20ths is less than 15
Oh, we're
20ths.
not supposed to reduce.
You got to give them the same name. You understand? And plus, when you reduced it, you made 15 20ths 2/3 instead of 3/4. All right? Give them the same name. Very good. Next one, number 3.
See what you did there.
Who's got number 3?
I got it.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I got the joke, but also yes. 3/10 is greater than 2/4 because
Okay.
6/20 is greater than, or no, less than, because 6/20 is less than 10/20.
Got it? 6/20 is less than 10/20. Give them the same name. Number 4. Somebody that we hardly ever hear from.
Oh,
It's also birthday week for someone.
Seth.
Seth. Are you done with 4, Seth? I'm not going to call on you if you're not done yet. That's a tough one. Anybody done with 4? 2 big denominators. Are you done with 4? You did 4? You gave him the same name.
Yeah,
Okay, go ahead.
I put equals 2. They're equal.
So you're not done yet. How did you, what name did you give them? What's their denominator? What's the?
I actually think I did it wrong. I think I just did how many there are away from each denominator.
Yeah, see, that's what I mean. You can't guess like that. You got to give them the same name. Use what we've been doing. What would be the LCM? Look, I think a lot of you are trying to avoid this. Here's your 2 denominators, 16 and 18. Sixteen is 2 to the 4. 18. I've got 2 to the 4th and a 3. Right? Is that 2 to the 4th? Oh, I got 3 squared. I got 2 to the 4th and 3 squared. I got to use all the factors, the 2 and the 3, to their greatest power. And it works out great for me. So this guy's gone. 2 to the 4th times 3. That is 16 times 9. 9 times 16 is?
144.
144. Now that I've established my common denominator, I say 9/16 equals how many out of 144? Anybody? Yes? 81, because I had to multiply this by 9. So I multiply that by 9. And my other denominator was 18. 11/18 is how many over 144? Yes?
99.
Because it,
9 times
No.
9 times 11.
18 times 8 gives me 144.
Oh.
11 times 8 is 88. Now I can compare those 2 numbers. 11/18 is greater than, so it's 9/16 is less than 11/18. Because it's 81 compared to 88. Stop trying to avoid this. We've been doing it for a whole week. We didn't just waste 3 days. Do the prime factorization so that you can get the common denominator and change them. Good?
Yeah. No. Who said no? I just realized I did my quiz all wrong.
Okay. Do the prime factorization. Let's do 5 through 8, 193. Now they're comparing. Listen, the only difference is they're mixed numbers. So what? Give them the same name.
Really? Which numbers do you have to turn those into fractions?
Well, right now, one's a mixed number and one's improper. So what do you want to do with that?
Make it an improper fraction.
You can either make them both mixed or make them both improper. Make them both improper, so you're just dealing with the denominator. So in number 5, you're dealing with 16 over 5, and you're comparing that to, what is it, 3 1/3?
Yeah.
What's 3 1/3 as an improper? 11. 10 over 3. Okay? So there's your 2 denominators, a 3 and a 5. If you're not sure what the LCM is, you do the prime factorization. They're both prime. 3 times 5 is?
15.
So you got how many 15ths? 16/5 is how many 15ths?
Mrs. Hamilton would like to know if you have a copy of Numbered Stars that she could borrow for. Oh no, mine. Somebody at church.
Teddy was wearing that shirt.
This one's
Yes, ma'am.
kid named Gianna.
What'd you get? 16/5 is the same as 48 over 15. 10/3 is the same as
15. 50.
what did you multiply 3 by to get to 15? No, look, let me write it next to each other so you. What do you multiply 3 by to get to 15? 5. So what's 10 times 5? Okay, so now we're comparing 48/15 to 50/15. So 16 over 5 is less than 3 1/3. I don't see y'all working on numbers 6 through 8 now. Just sitting there like, wait, look, reminds me of the little birds in the nest with their mouths open, waiting for the food to come. Just, you're like waiting for me to give another answer. Can you picture all the little birds in the nest with their beaks open, waiting for mama to come give them a worm?
That makes sense.
We're only a couple of days.
Sometimes, Bella, sometimes that's what the basketball team looks like, waiting for a rebound. Like it's just gonna come to
Where's
you.
Noah at?
Yeah, where's Noah?
Like it's just gonna drop right in your hands.
It is gonna drop.
Like you don't know anything. While the other team's working to get the rebound, you're like,
It magically comes.
oh, you mean I have to like move my feet and get off the ground? I gotta move to get the rebound. Oh,
Except for shooting.
it's not just gonna fall in my lap.
Well, no one does that too. Wait, you can't do that. I don't shoot like that. I thought you could do that.
Yeah,
Brett
you do.
shoots like, no one told me.
Let's go, focus, we gotta get done.
God.
Right now, we're just doing 5 through 8, or 6 through 8, is where you did 5.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Thank you.
12 times 5 is
All right, so I says to myself, I can't compare these two fractions till I give them the same name. First thing I'm going to do is make 1 4/5 9/5. Okay? All I did was change this mixed number to improper. Now I've got two denominators, 12 and 5. I can go off to the side and do my prime factorization, or, Mr. Frankie, do we have to do that? What if we could do it in our head? Well, sure, don't show your work if you get it right. But if you get it wrong, you got to show your work. Does that make sense? So here's a strategy. Watch this. Since these are numbers that are in your times tables, I think to myself, does 5 go into 12?
No.
So 12 can't be the least common denominator because it's not the least common multiple. What's the next multiple of 12?
24.
Does 5 go into 24 evenly?
No, sir.
Next multiple of 12.
46.
Does 5 go into that?
No.
Next multiple.
48.
Does 5 go into that?
No.
Next multiple.
60.
Does 5?
Yes.
Yes.
So I can do the prime factorization like I've done many times, or listen, absolutely, if it's lower numbers and it's in your times tables, you can do it that way. So 9/5, I got to turn that into 60ths, we said. What did I multiply 5 by to get to 60?
12.
So what's 9 times 12?
240.
2? Did you say 2? 4?
Sorry, wrong one.
108. So I got 108 over 60. Is that this one?
I got that.
You did it right.
I got that.
21/12. I got to change that into 60ths. What did I multiply 12 by to get 60? 5. David, what's 21 times 5? 105. So now I'm comparing 105 over 60 to 108 over 60. Now, even Lauren could come up and within seconds put, oh, I meant,
Even more.
I don't think she can.
I'm comparing 108 over, oh, you guys, I'm sorry. Are you feeling bad that do you think I was making, I wasn't.
Yeah, we
You
thought
thought
you
you
No,
were.
I see what you did there.
All right. 108 over 60. So 9/5 is greater than 21/12.
Yeah, I did it wrong.
Let's start back up and do that again. Ready? This is what I started with. I'm not even going to try to compare a mixed number and improper. I'm going to make them both improper. I went from here to here. Raise your hand if you don't understand that 1 4/5 is 9/5. You don't understand 1 4/5 is 9/5? 1 times 5 plus 4.
I did 1 times 5 times 4, so that's why I got it.
1 times 5 plus 4, David. Good question. Thank you. You can't sit there and not understand that and then expect to get the rest of it, right? So you got to ask. Good job. 9/5 compared to 21/12. I don't know yet because one's 5ths and one's 12ths. I got to give them the same name. We came up with 60. Do you understand that part, David?
Yes.
That 60 is the lowest common multiple, so the lowest common denominator. And now I'm comparing 108 over 60 to 105 over 60. So 9/5 is great. Yes?
Yes.
Are you done with number 7?
Yep.
Yes.
Or
Yes.
is the fact that they put a negative sign in there really going to throw you for a loop? No, it's not, because you know that on this side of the number line, if they're both negative, then the one that has the least absolute value is actually the greatest, right? Because the closer it is to 0, the greater the number. So now we're comparing negative, forget the negative signs for now. Just do the 2 2/3 and the 4 5/6. Don't concern yourself with the negative sign yet. Just give yourself a common denominator. So we got, you mind if I rewrite that 8/3 compared to
29/6.
29/6? Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to do a little, is it okay if I do a shortcut since I got a 3 and a 6 here? Is it okay?
Yeah.
What times 3 gives me 6?
2.
What's 8 times 2?
16.
That was kind of an easy one to figure out, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I have to be able to do this, but listen, middle schoolers, if you get one like this, you're like, oh, 3 times 2, 8 times 2, this one's obviously, wait a minute, this one's obviously, if they were both positive, this one would obviously be less, because it'd be 16, right? So 16/6 compared to 29/6. Now what if I put a negative in front of both of them? This is more than 2, but this is more than 4. So which one's greater? -2 something or -4 something?
The negative 16 because it's closer to the 0. Which makes it
If
better.
you're done with number 7, did you get it right?
Yes. No, I forgot about it.
Yes, sir.
When you're talking negative, this is -2 and 2/3. And this is -4 and 4/5. This is greater than that. Does that make sense? Lorelai? For number 8, you should have put them in this order. Ready? 2 and 5/12, 11/4, and 2 and 7/9.
Oh, I did it.
2 and 5/12, from least to greatest. Turn the page. Your homework is only 11 through 19.
That's
Oh,
all.
that's only 20.
8?
That's 9 from.
I'm right.
Good job, Bella.
Yes.
Because at first glance, you're like, oh, 11 through
I was
19, that's
gonna say
8,
but
but you
then-
gotta include the 11.
Yeah, I knew that. I mean, so.
Rest of the night playing games.
You don't need no sneaking badges. You don't need no sneaking badges.
Yeah, oh.
Wait, so what do you?
When we get on the bus, I have to show you it's
Let's go. Hey, you need to get to work, so if you struggle in the next 6 minutes, I can do it on the board and get you through it. Don't sit there. Listen, should Jesus not return tonight, this is going to be back at you tomorrow. So let's go.
Oh, man, it was kind of relying on.
But what if he does?
I don't think he will. You don't have to do math homework.
Yay!
Because.
Big brain day, actually, because I want to call science.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Do tomorrow. We have a social place.
Wait, what is this, a Brian Regan moment?
This big sign.
Let's do today.
Yeah, no, you
You
do.
are?
I just had a cup of dirt.
it done.
I'm almost done with it.
They asked me what it was, I said it's just a
I
cup
got
of
it done
dirt.
like.
I
Didn't
hate
even
that
have to
thing.
do lawn.
Great.
I haven't watched
That's
it.
not really
I mean, it was
bad.
only font size 100 and stuff.
You know, you obviously didn't get the requirement.
You probably just wrote science.
Yeah, you're gonna have
No,
one.
that was 4 pages.
NCE.
No, that was 4 pages. I wrote essay.
Yeah.
Just a big ass.
Stop
Next
walking
page.
loose and
Hey.
Listen up. David, please tell me you're done with number 11. You need to be done with number 11 here quickly so I can tell you're on the right track. For those of you that are really hassling over number 11, if you're not done yet, can I show you another shortcut?
it's just right.
Hello?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you all look up here?
I don't even know.
You have to know how to do this. You have to know how to give them the same name. And I don't feel bad about giving you the shortcut because you're going to have to do the same name a lot. But let's use some common sense here. What's greater, 13/4 or 13/12? Let's have an understanding of fractions, okay? Remember that when the denominator is the same, all you got to do to compare them is look at the numerator. And when the denominator stays the same, the larger the numerator, the larger the fraction, right? But if you've got the same numerator and the denominator changes, as the denominator gets bigger, what happens to the fraction? It actually gets smaller. 2 out of 14 is way less than 2 out of 7. So if we apply that, hello, Noel. If we apply that here, our numerators are the same. 13/4 is greater than 13/12. As the denominator gets larger, the fraction actually gets smaller. Numerators are the same. Denominator gets larger, the fraction actually gets smaller. Think about it like this. If this was a pizza cut into 12 slices, and you ate 12 out of 12, you ate one whole pizza and you only ate one more piece. If the pizza was cut into 4 slices, you ate like over 3 whole pizzas. Make sense?
He ain't messing
As
around.
listen, when your numerators are the same, what happens to the fraction as the denominator gets larger? The fraction actually gets smaller. When the denominators are the same and the numerator gets larger, the fraction gets larger. So you could have done number 11 without changing these both into 12s. You could have done number 11 without giving them the same name. Because you used your fractional common sense. That 13 out of 4 is much greater than 13 out of 12. Yes, Lauren? See, even Lauren could have come up and done number 11 without changing them to common denominator. Number 12,
That must be
31 over 6 compared to 5 and 1/6. Number 12 you can get done in one step because you've got 31 over 6, and when you change 5 and 1/6 into an improper fraction, la-dee-da, what do you get? 31 over 6. Isn't that special? You've been able, listen, if you had your thinking caps, are you done with all these? No, we use our time wisely.
Spencer.
Time's money.
Especially like this.
Well, only if you have a job.
I see what you did there.
Now he's gone.
For me, time is worthless. I have no job.
No, Alex.
13. You already done with 13? Tell me you got 13 right. What'd you write? Less than, equal to, greater than? Less than. You want 16.
You gone.
11/18 compared to 9/14. I'm giving you a freebie here. Is it 11/18?
Yeah.
9/14?
Yeah.
Okay, got to give them the same name, same denominator. Let's see. If I do this prime factorization, 2 times 3 squared, 2 times 7. I got to use the 2, the 3, and the 7. 2 to the first power is the greatest power. 3 squared is the greatest power. Times 7. 2 times 9 times 7. What is 63 times 2? 63. 9 times 7, 63 times 2.
100.
What?
100.
126. So my new denominator, 11/18 equals how many out of 126? What do I have to multiply 18 by to get to 126? Or what's 126 divided by 18? 7. So what's 11 times 7?
77.
So I got 77 over 126 over here, Noel. I got to change 14ths into 126.
I didn't even realize you were doing all that I was doing.
What's 126 divided by 14?
A lot.
14 times what gets me to 126? Too many people have shop closed up and we're not done yet. 9. So what's 9 times 9?
81.
So now I'm comparing 77 over 126 to 81 over 126. So 11/18 is less than 9/14. 11 through 19. Have a splendid Thursday. Keep the snow away.
Yeah! No, I'm not still finding.
No, you don't understand. If it snows, it's going to be this messy snow.
No, I want to
Are we watching a movie today? And reading? Are we watching a movie?